Dean, welcome.
Good to see you.
Likewise, thank you for coming and joining us today.
Good to be here.
Yeah, please have a seat. Okay, well again, Ramin, first and foremost, thank you for your time. You're such a busy person and we really appreciate you being here today. Now today we have a lot of amazing things to talk about, especially because of the fact that, personally for me, I've been blessed to have become a multimillionaire in the forensic networker system. And right now across the world and the globe, there's so many people, millions of people who are actually getting and starting with their MLM business, and of course, millions starting off now. At the same time though, there's always some confusion I find within the MLM industry. People aren't sure of things and they hear things kind of stuff. And today, I wanted to get a chance to ask you yourself, Ramin, you're such an expert at this, and try to help us put a rest towards MLM and the question behind it. Because there's a lot of companies out there that are sort of pretending to be like an MLM. So I think there's some confusion between MLM and others are trying to pretend to be like that. So, again, we're really blessed to have you here today, Ramin. And most importantly, we want to ask the forensic networker himself about just really clarifying what is MLM.
Well, Renee, first thing we need to do is separate the multi-level marketing distribution method from the multi-level marketing payment method. They're two separate things.
Okay.
And that's the biggest distinction here. So in short, what MLM is a method of distribution. Just like franchising, just like traditional business, just like web businesses, door-to-door businesses, there's many methods of distribution to get the product from manufacturer to the end consumer. And MLM is one of those methods.
I like that clear distinction because I think oftentimes it's confused. They think of MLM as almost a separate entity on its own, but really, as you're just saying, MLM is just a method of distribution. I love that, so thank you so much for that. So, that being said, one of the common questions that you might hear of, again, from oftentimes just sort of confused people, but it could be, can MLM be illegal?
Well, MLM as a method of distribution cannot be illegal. Unless, of course, you got products that are highly regulated, it's not allowed to be sold, maybe some gimmicks. But MLM is like, just like franchising cannot be illegal.
Illegal, right.
It's the concept itself is obviously highly regulated. The concept itself is legal over 150 countries. So to answer your question, MLM as a method of distribution, no, it cannot be illegal.
Right, so just to reference that here again, the key thing with MLM is that, and you just mentioned it, it's highly regulated. There's laws in place that govern how MLM should be run as a method of distribution. So in short, MLM cannot be illegal, the method of distribution itself, correct?
That's right. It's just a method, another method to get the goods from the manufacturer to the end consumer.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So we understand now that the method of distribution in MLM cannot be illegal. However, there are of course MLM companies that can be illegal. Is that safe to say? So there are MLM companies that are illegal in that sense, and what makes them illegal if that is the case?
Well, I like to say there are some illegal companies who pretend to be MLM.
Got it. Okay.
Because you could have legal companies and illegal companies in any method of distribution. There could be franchises that are legal or illegal. There could be brick and mortar businesses that are legal or illegal, web businesses,
right.
And MLM is the same. So the method of distribution part doesn't determine if you're legal or illegal. It's how you operate the business that will determine whether you're legal or illegal. So in MLM, it's never the method of distribution.
Right.
It's always the reward program, or what we call a compensation plan. And the way the companies run and operate it is what determines whether that business is legal or illegal.
Very interesting. So again, it's not the method, it's more about how are the payments made to the participants, as we call it,
That's right.
in these companies. Okay, very
But because what happens, that's the part highly regulated. The reward program, the compensation plan. So essentially, just to keep it very simple, the regulations are designed to promote resellers and consumption, and to prevent investors. So if you have everything in place, the right product, simple, everything else that brings in customers and brings in people to consume product and to reselling the product, well, you're in good space. If your space in your company has some complicated products, or the culture is to go recruit business people, in other words, you're selling businesses and not products, that becomes problematic. I mean, the recruiting part itself is not an issue. McDonald's recruits at 17,000 locations.
Right.
We're recruiting to sell products. As long as we're recruiting to sell and consume products, we're okay. But for recruiting to get bonuses, that's not okay.
I think that's a clear distinction, and I hope it helps our listeners and audience understand this, because again, I always believe that when it comes to a proper MLM company, it should be led with, of course, product focus first. Because again, how can someone want your business if they don't understand how good the products are yet? So I've always built it from the, and I've been trained to do this, which is products first. And once someone likes the products, they can then decide they want to become a distributor of the product. But I've seen other companies though that they're only focusing on, hey, join, and get in, and they're not even focusing much about the products, right?
And that's the distinction. So if you're attracting people based on investing to make money on the investment, that's illegal.
Okay, so
But if you're attracting people because they love the products and they want to consume it and they want to resell it, of course they buy the same membership package.
Right.
But so it all comes down to, why are they joining? Are they joining because there are some good products that they're using and selling, or are they joining because the business package itself rewards them? That's the distinction.
So the next common question that always comes in, Ramin, is how does then the MLM distribution opportunity compare to other traditional opportunities of distribution, such as franchises, brick and mortar, e-commerce, online? How do they compare then?
Well, Renee, if they're being conducted properly, MLM, they should be very similar. They're all method of distributions.
Right.
But we do have some advantages and we have some disadvantages. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ops first.
Okay.
First thing is, it's a low startup cost and low maintenance.
Right.
That allows everybody to get involved. You know, that's a beautiful part. It's time flexible. Every country, doesn't matter where you are, MLM could be your solution.
Right.
The second advantage we have is that it allows for leverage. Leverage means is that it allows you to make a lot of money because it's not just your income, it's the income of a lot of people coming together, and you can earn much bigger income when you have many people than all your own efforts.
Right.
John Paul Getty says, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of my own, and that's the basic MLM concept. Equal opportunity for all is number 3. Again, MLM doesn't recognize demographics, age, color, religion, where you live. MLM recognizes one thing. For instance, we call it input, effort, right?
Right.
So that's why it's truly it's opportunity for all. Doesn't matter what country you're in.
Got it.
The next one is MLM replaces the massive middleman profits that a few people get, and passes that to many people through a MLM compensation plan. Now I want to tell you the story. Years ago, when I bought my very first Mercedes-Benz, it was a SL 500. I got ordered from Europe.
Wow.
And I did a little bit of research. When I bought that car, when it came into Canada, it was $132,000. $132,000.
Wow.
When that car left Germany, the factory, it was $76,000. Same car. So it was $76,000 when it left the factory. It got to me, it was $132,000. What happened was there was 17 different stops along the way, including the taxes.
Right.
So it doubled in cost by the time I got it. So what MLM does, will take that portion and shares that portion in an MLM compensation plan. And next big one is, MLM is a business beyond borders. So it doesn't matter if you live in a village, doesn't matter what country you're in, you can take any country in the world and you can build your business there as long as the company you're with allows you to do that. In some countries, MLM offers huge tax benefits, like in Canada, some of the European countries, which is awesome because we're highly taxed countries in the world right now that could use a tax benefit. And so again, this industry allows people to save money on the taxes. It's a fairly safe business. Well, it doesn't cost a lot to get started. It doesn't cost a lot to maintain. So it's a fairly safe business. And next thing is massive income potential. We talked about earlier business beyond borders. We talked about being able to leverage that allows you to earn income from many countries, from many people, and that's an opportunity that no other method of distribution offers. The next big one is, which I really like, personal development and support. MLM develops people. You become a much better version of yourself.
Yes.
You've been through it, I've been through it, and we become a better person in all aspects of our life. It's not just money. And that's something you can get in this industry with a good company, and you get it for free. You get to rub shoulders with people who are multi-millionaires who you couldn't even afford to hire, or you could go pay thousands of dollars, go to a seminar. In this industry, with a good company, you get to rub shoulders and learn and work with multi-millionaires every single day on your way to prosperity. And the last thing I want to talk about, and there are more, is I think technology and tools. If you want to start any business, you're gonna, it's the internet age, you need websites, you need software, you need all kinds of things. You need merchant systems. When you join a good MLM company, they have all that.
Right.
They have multi-million-dollar softwares. They have multi-million-dollar systems that you adopt for free, basically, or very low if you have to pay. So again, these are 10 major advantages that we have over other methods of distributions. No one else offers that.
And I love that because I think a lot of people want to have a business, like you mentioned before too, but it's just too tough to start up on your own. And one of the key things that you definitely mentioned was it's a turnkey business. I mean, the moment you start, the moment you pay and start your company, you're in business that same second. You can actually sell products the very next minute right away. And so it really does, in my opinion, MLM gives the average person a real chance of having their own business without having all of the risk behind it, right? And another key point that you just mentioned that I love, Ramin, was the fact that, you know, even for myself, I've always wanted to have a business and get coaching and mentoring. And when I've talked to a few, you know, wealthy people that I respected, and I essentially tried to ask them to teach me to have my own business, I felt like they didn't want to do it because maybe I might take business from them later on. I might
Create
become
competition for them.
Exactly, right? So I love the fact that in MLM, it's the only industry where really the millionaires that you mentioned, they want to help you have your own success. That's such a unique thing within MLM, right?
Well, Rene, you're a multi-millionaire in this industry, and every day new people join your team, and look how much time you put with them.
Exactly.
On conference call, you meet with them, you have coffee with them, you train them. Again, those new individuals who have access to people like you, they will not have this access to a multi-millionaire in any other industry. So those are the 10 major ups that we have over any other method of distribution.
And it's because of that it's because of the history that I went through of trying to reach out to these other, you know, millionaires, not within MLM, that because I made it here today, that I want to just pour back into the people who are like me when I got started, you know, about 13 years ago in this company, right? So again, that covers the upsides to MLM distribution model. How about some of the downsides now, Ramin?
The downside is that because it's easy to get in, right? You get a lot of people that come in and don't take it seriously. So let's face it, it's our beloved industry, but the service is not there. It's almost non-existent. I'm not talking about the companies, because I think most companies do a good job there, but it's the independent. So if the independents open up a traditional business, because of pressures of the business, they do a much better job supporting their customers than maybe MLM distributors, independent business owners do. You know, training, that's another thing. You know, if you've been open up a traditional brick and mortar business or franchise, they train you. They go through stringent training. Yet here people come into our platform, and although the potential is much higher, they don't take the time to go to training. So there's a lot of those things. It's easy to get in, so everybody gets in, including some people that really shouldn't be in it. And they just don't have the good. They're not people's people. They have good intentions. It attracts a lot of investors because again, the investment is low, the potential is high. So those are the downsides that we have. I think the biggest one that we have here that we need to correct is there's no accountability here. A person can come into an MLM and do it all wrong, jumps to 3 more MLMs or 5 more MLMs, or drag people to the next MLM and keep selling investments. And at the end of the day, you know, they make some money, maybe they don't make some money, but they hurt a lot of people. But there's no accountability. And I think we really need to do a better job at that as companies as well as distributors, because if you're a traditional business, you wouldn't get away with it.
No.
In this internet age, people will do bad review or whatever the case is, right? Because this industry is not really regulated that way, it's people's business. We are really lacking on that accountability, and because you don't have accountability, of course, then you don't have to get trained, then you don't have to provide support, and those things.
And that's a great point with me. And one of the things that I've learned, you know, in your training sessions is that the mentality that I always want to teach my people when they get started in their MLM business is treat it as if you just invested your life savings into the program. How would you work? How would you devote time in training yourself and your work ethics in that business, right? And hopefully that will be a good tip for our listeners to take upon home with them to really avoid the downsides towards the MLM distribution models, right?
But the good news is, Renee, our ops, no other method of distribution can copy. The business beyond borders, the leverage, and all the multi-millionaires you can work with, and all the training and support, technology. No one else offers those things to you for free. So no one can implement our ops, but we can certainly get better on their ops, which is better support, better training, and more accountability.
So I mean, now that we understand again that MLM is a distribution model, it cannot be illegal, but there are bad companies within MLM. Focusing more on, again, the payment part, which is the compensation plan, what would make an MLM company's compensation plan illegal?
Basically, the focus of the company. If the focus of the company is to put compensation to draw investment,
right,
it's illegal, right? So we want to make sure that the focus needs to be on the product and product sales and product consumption and finding more people to consume more products.
Right.
That's number one. The second part is fair market value. What's happening a lot of times is that companies come in with products that's not really worth a lot, or they inflate the price, right?
Exactly.
Or they put a price on it where some of these cryptocurrencies really there is no set price, they just make up prices. So if there's no fair market value, that becomes an illegal business. And the third thing is the company needs to back up their products and services. Again, if they're good companies with good products, simple, tangible, products that people actually use and consume, well, the companies will back those products up, products and services. If the company doesn't have that, you know that they're not very confident, the product is not a real product, and it's illegal. There's a lot more.
Yes.
But I'm just talking about some of the most basics of what are the red flags you should be looking for.
Okay, so again, more focus on, again, product sales, number one. Are the products of reasonable market value, so they're not overpriced? And when you say overpriced, I guess what you're saying is that a lot of companies sometimes jack up the price in order to pay commissions, but then it's not really fair market value, and it becomes really hard to sell the products, right? Absolutely. If it's hard to sell the products, then again, what's happening here is people are relying upon the recruiting side, join and buy as a members kind of pricing as well too. So
absolutely. And you know what? A lot of companies know that. So the way the governments enforce these policies, they don't really care what's in your policy and procedures or your literature. They're looking at how you run your business. So basically, what's the culture of the company? More than what's actually literature. So if your literature says these things, but but your culture of your tours and trainings are all about recruiting, not much about product training, then that's still an illegal operation. It's not what you say, it's what you do.
Got it. So it's almost as if, based on my theory, we should be able to visualize ourselves actually literally and being able to sell these products as a good sign of, is it a good business in that sense, right? So
absolutely. Well, first of all, if you love the product, it's natural to talk about it.
Right.
If you have to convince yourself why you should sell the product, that's a pretty good reason why
makes sense.
You should be there.
Now, again, one thing that we mentioned previously was that there's a lot of companies out there that are pretending to be like MLM, and I've been blessed to travel the world. I've seen so many crazy things out there. I've seen companies that you could be in one country and they're trying to sell you some investment of a product in another country, and it's almost hard sometimes to know what's real or not real. And I guess I've always believed that if I can touch and feel the product, at least it's a good step forward to having a good company. But if I can't even see the product or touch the product, would that be a fair kind of assumption to say in terms of?
Well, MLM is supposed to be people's business, right? And most people are not very sophisticated in businesses. The product has to be simple, they could be emotional, be visual, something that I could see, get excited about, and it's their excitement that draws customers. So if you got some type of technical product that requires some specialized skills, even if it's legal, it's just not doable.
It's too
for
hard
the average person. And MLM is supposed to be for the average person. So I would say, when you look at a product, it has to be simple, has to be emotional, has to be visual. If you don't have those three elements, even if it's legal, some are not, it's very difficult for the average person to do. And if you don't have the average person that could do this, there's no money to be made because you can't build a team.
Now, Ramin, in our industry, you're always going to come across a few objections, just like in every other kind of business out there. Now, within our context, a lot of times people have the objection when it comes to team commissions, which is, well, people make money on my efforts, as if they're not happy that, their efforts are paying someone else, above. How would you address that objection, Ramin?
Well, some objections are just not valid. It's called commerce. In any business, any form of business, even in job, you're trading your time for money. In traditional business, you're trading your time, your product or service for money. Mm-hmm. In MLM, you're trading your time, your product, service, and your coaching for money.
Right.
So someone's always going to make money on your efforts. If you have a job, the only reason why the job can pay you is because what you're doing makes them money. Yeah. So I don't want to really talk a lot about that because it's a ridiculous objection.
Right.
So show me a business that people do not make money on your efforts.
Exactly. Another objection that's quite common is people think that there's a low success ratio when it comes to MLM businesses. What would you say to that, Ramin?
Well, that's true. That's true. But it's not unique to MLM. Pretty much human beings, we're not consistent in anything, right? And there's so much things to do, and often we fail. I mean, the average person have had 8 jobs. 8 jobs. I mean, they failed 7 times.
Right.
But we don't blame jobs for that, do we?
No.
So, traditional business, 80% fail within the first 5 years.
Right.
Brick and mortar, 80%. We don't blame the traditional business for that, do we? Even franchises. 66% of franchises either break even or they go bankrupt in the first 5 years. We don't blame franchises for that, do we?
No.
It gets even worse when it comes to stock market. Stats are 92 to 93% lose money on stock market, trading stocks. Do we blame the stock market for that?
Right.
Forex, 96%. Forex is big right now worldwide. 96% lose money in Forex. We never say, well, it's Forex's fault. Mm-hmm. Yet when it comes to MLM, well, a lot of people don't make money. Well, show me something that people make a lot of money on. Right. Even in real estate, I remember in Toronto, it's a big market here, and they were saying average real estate broker didn't even sell 2 houses a year.
Right.
Right? So it's one of those ridiculous objections that, again, I don't like to dignify those ridiculous objections by commenting too much on it.
Right. It's just not fair to blame MLM because, again, it happens in every form of business or investment as well too, right? What we're saying here is that MLM is a form of business and it cannot be blamed for the participants' failures because, again, it would be the same as them doing stocks or doing real estate or that kind of stuff too. And I think in my opinion is that MLM is still the safest of them all because if you were to quote unquote fail in an MLM attempt, you don't actually lose much. I mean, in most cases, you got back almost dollar for dollar with some great products. But again, if you were to fail in a franchise or traditional brick and mortar businesses, in most cases, I see people lose their life savings in that. So again, I think we can say here that MLM is still the safest of all of these different types of opportunities out there.
Absolutely. I like to say, forensic networker, if you don't make any money, at least you can enjoy your products. Sometimes I like these type of objections when it comes from the competing methods of distribution. The job and the traditional business people say stuff like that. I would say, looking at the stats, I think it's pretty stupid to throw rock at a castle when you live in a glass house.
That's right.
So this is still the safest.
Okay. Now another, again, I don't hear this much anymore. This objection, I probably heard it like when I first got started in direct sales a long time ago. I haven't heard it much, but every now and then it still kind of comes up, and we gotta put this to rest for me. The whole thing with the pyramid. I mean, people, I don't know where it comes from for me. Sometimes I'm just shocked that it still comes up, but how would can we once and for all address the pyramid objection?
Well, I didn't know these folks existed anymore because that was like 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, it's ridiculous to say that still bring that word up because how could pyramids are legal? How could an illegal trade last 80 years?
Right.
An MLM is 80 years old. So it's absolutely ridiculous. Look, this is why they test the word there's some illegal MLMs out there. There is no illegal MLMs out there. There are illegal companies pretending to be MLM. And so we want to separate the method of distribution and multi-level marketing from the payment plan. The payment plan, there's a lot of companies who are illegally rewarding sales and recruitment. The MLM side itself of it it cannot be blamed. So yeah, there are companies out there, I'm sure, they still do Ponzi schemes. The payment plan they use is through Ponzi scheme, maybe through permit schemes. But there are illegal companies in every method of distribution. There are illegal franchises, there are illegal web businesses, there are all kinds of illegal door-to-door sales companies. So I just want to separate the two. There is no illegal MLMs companies. There are illegal companies who pay through a pyramid program. And we'll talk about later how to choose the right company for that. So there is no such thing, to try to brush the whole industry, because there are some bad companies. It's like brushing the whole franchise industry because there were bad franchises. Brushing the whole, e-commerce because there's some real scams online. You just can't do that. So I like to draw that distinction between the two.
Now again, with the word pyramid, sometimes people often like to refer it as the guy at the top makes the most money. Can you talk about that? Because we know a lot about this, but what's your thoughts from the front-end worker point of view about the guy at the top making the most money?
Well, look, a lot of people don't realize they live in a pyramid world.
That's right.
Right? Last I checked, in politics, there's only one president and it expands from there. In religion, there's only one pope, expands from there. MLM is the only place, actually, where there's many space for anyone to get to the top. Certainly, if you work for a company, there's only one president.
Right.
So people who talk about pyramids, really, that's where they live. That's why this industry is the fastest growing industry in the world, because the first place an average person can come and actually have a shot at the top.
Right.
So when it comes down to incomes, that is true with every trade. There's before MLM even was created, we always had this 595 stats.
9 to 5, right.
And outside MLM, 1% of the population control 96% of the money. Outside MLM, even today. So this idea of few people make money, at least here those few could be you.
You have a chance.
You have a chance. But you certainly don't have that in your job, because at present there's only one spot there.
Exactly.
Right? So again, one of those objections that's really a non-objection.
Right. Again, there's plenty of people above me that make nowhere close to what I make, right? So again.
Actually, that's a very good point, Renee, because there is about like 30 or 40 different levels between you and the top of the company.
Right.
And yet you make more money than all of them except one.
Exactly.
Right?
So again, it's not valid, period, right? So, now that we've addressed a lot about the MLM, and hopefully we've clarified for the audience today what really makes an MLM different from companies pretending to be like MLMs. For the listeners who are watching this, why would people in the world need MLM if we weren't clear enough already as it was?
Right. I do want to say one thing too, though. There are some good MLM companies that make mistakes. Right? And the mistake they make is one thing. They put a close eye on what's going on in the field. That's why I said the governments don't care what's in your policy and procedures. They care about the culture of your company, your trainings and so forth. So there are good companies that will get shut down because they don't have a good handle on their top leaders.
Right.
So it's not all bad companies that are doing illegal stuff, some good companies that are illegal stuff because they don't have good oversight.
Right.
No, you brought perhaps the most important question. Why MLM?
Yes.
One word, inflation. Inflation has been destroying our economy for the last 50 years. Everywhere in the world, it affects even the governments. Inflation basically means that your money is losing value. Your money can buy less and less of the goods and services you need every year. In Canada, the incorporation raise is 2.5%.
Right.
Yet vegetable went up by 11%, gas went up by 19%. So that gap is called inflation. So people of the world now are stuck into, there are three choices. One, borrow, we do very well here, to maintain our lifestyle every year. Because your salary raise is not meeting the inflation, the cost of goods. So A, you have to borrow to maintain your lifestyle. Two, you reduce your lifestyle because to match the cost, which a few people like to do.
Right.
The third is the best one, which is you need an extra revenue stream. Your job is not going to provide this, you need an extra revenue stream.
Right.
So that's why 25,000 people a week are getting into home-based businesses, mainly multi-level marketing, because it's flexible enough so you can fit it within your job and being of the extra revenue. So why MLM? Because there's absolute need for it. I mean, take a look at our stats.
Yes.
Every year, household debt rises because, like I said, the raise doesn't meet the cost of living.
Right.
So you borrow your household debt, new record every year. That eventually would lead to a point we can't borrow anymore.
Right.
Record bankruptcies. That's again happening every year
Right.
as well. So when you take a look at what's happening to the world, MLM is an absolute last bastion of the free enterprise for the average person to be able to not only hit the financial home run, at least be able to not go bankrupt. So that's why MLM is so important.
And I think one of the biggest things that I had a lot of fear with, again, working in a corporate role before as a programmer, was, do I have enough money for retirement? It's almost scary because a lot of people, they don't really actually, I think, plan far enough and foresee far enough, because at some point in time, if you start working, with inflation and the cost of living so high, and with pensions not even being what it used to be, there's a huge gap there. So it's almost like you don't have an option. In my opinion, you must have yourself a side MLM business at the very
Well, you have
least.
to face it. There's no retirement.
Thank you, yes.
There's no retirement. So that's why people are working beyond 65 now. The governments are broke. The healthcare system is broke. And that governments are trying to promote MLM now because they want you to become self-employed. So if MLM is not something you will do, it's not if you're going to do MLM at some point, it's when, or you're going to have a very, very disturbing retirement.
Right.
So to close this topic, Renee, they always talk about precious metals hedge against currency, because currency is a depreciating in value and precious metals increase in value, so you need to do that to balance it out. Well, I said MLM is hedge against jobs. Jobs are decreasing value. MLM is something you raise as value to balance your future and retirement.
So Ramin, again, thank you so much for that. Now that we know the true meaning of MLM and the question that millions of people who get started in their own MLM career and have MLM business, I think the biggest question that they want to know is, what makes the right company? How do I choose the right company? Now, I've been blessed because I've of course dabbled in a few things and I was learning my ways. I've only ever been part of 3 companies, and I was very lucky that upon my last company, I found the right components that's why I've still been here for 13 years making full-time income and way beyond a full-time income. I've made multi-millions now. But for the listeners today, what can we tell them about what to look for that makes a good, solid company in MLM?
Well, there's many things, but I think there's 10 basic ones that you should definitely look for. First one is timing. 0 to 5 years is very risky. You can put your time on that. For even good companies, many of them go out of business. So 0 to 5 years, you pretty much want to stay away from it. 5 to 20 years is what they call the momentum phase. It's pretty safe. You're still not too old within your market, and then you have a lot of growth to do. After 20 becomes stable in most countries, still new other areas, but stable in most countries. So timing is key that you need to look into. The second is simple and tangible products, like called want and need products, where emotional, the visual. Something simple enough that you can talk about. Not some of this gimmicky stuff that's virtual, that's online.
You can't see it.
You can't see
Can't touch it.
And you need some type of technical data or something like can be complicated, because complicated doesn't duplicate. If it doesn't duplicate, you can't build a team. Can't build a team, you can't get residual income. So again, it has to be simple, emotional, visual. We call it forensic need and want products.
Now, you brought up a great point about the simple part of a want and need product, because I have found that in this industry, there's so many things out there, there's so many opportunities, and oftentimes I find that some particular opportunities, they're quite confusing in the sense that they have so much complicated type of products, or almost a vast range of complicated products, that it's almost as if it's like a barrier for the new person to come in and learn. So I love the fact that you mentioned simple, because I really believe that if a product is simple and it's priced well per se, it's not unnaturally inflated, that you have a pretty good chance of having a good company with that case, right?
Again, the basics of the MLM, the core of MLM is I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of my own. So you may be a sophisticated person, but you're not going to make a lot more in MLM. The idea is to have a simple that 100 people can do, so you can make a little bit and you can make a lot of money.
I love that.
The third important point is about having a balanced compensation plan. But it's no what I call comp plan contradiction, because a lot of the compensation plans, even with good companies, the bonuses contradict each other. It's designed that way. If you qualify for this, you don't qualify for that. Those becomes tricky, right? Because you're always in conflict, not only with your compensation plan, you're also with your people who are also ranking up as well. And you don't also want a comp plan that's top heavy. Sometimes it says some comp plans will pay $400,000 a week. Well, that's as a network marketer who's an expert, that doesn't impress me, because the same pool of money is going to a couple of people.
Right.
And then the rest are starving. You want a plan that's very balanced for the brand new person all the way up to the people who are on the highest ranks.
Now, one thing that I learned being in this industry for so long now is to learn to look for a plan that can actually pay you to infinity. And it's surprising how so many people in the field don't actually realize this, because a lot of companies, if you actually looked at the actual compensation plan document, you'll see that it either pays you down to 10 levels or 10 generations, or two different things, or there's a break-off period. And so how important is it that we actually find a plan that can pay you to infinity? Because that was the key thing for me, was can it pay you to infinity on your entire organization?
Well, obviously, the business grows very, very deep, right? Especially in binary programs. So it's imperative that you be able to touch all those sales.
Right.
Anything that prohibits you touching the sales of your organization, it's never a good thing.
Right.
Then the next point is that the company must be a vibrant company and coming up with this what called momentum-based promotions that gets riled up everybody.
Right.
You know, every 30 days you've got something new to shoot for, and when that happens, people will do more. When they do more, increase CV, increase checks. We got a lot of momentum going. So I call it, you want a company that's not stagnant. You want a company that's constantly coming up with promotions that builds momentum. Number 5, we're in a story-driven industry. It's people telling stories, whether it's a product testimonial, or income testimonial, and you want, because it takes time to build a residual income, you want these fast start lifestyle bonuses that people can qualify quickly, that bonus, that cruise, that car program. So people not only enhance their lifestyle, it creates a lot of stories, it creates a lot of energy and excitement. Things are quick, that a new person can come in while they're building the team. They can tap into some cash pools very, very quickly based on their own effort, not necessarily on other people's effort.
I believe that another key point, perhaps point number 6, should be that the company has a strong culture of training, and more importantly, training that's for free. I love the fact that with companies that do this is because it's really up to you if you want to have success. The training is there for you, the companies are there to guide you, and again, I see a lot of companies that don't really have a culture of training, so you have a bunch of sort of, I guess, the workforce is all confused. So I think personally, another key point would be that the company itself has to have a strong culture of training. They want to encourage you to be on trainings, and of course that way you have an educated workforce, not a confused workforce.
And the training must be product focused.
Yes, thank you.
The next one, point number 7, is very quickly looking at the company tools and prep materials and links tells you if they're professional or not. Because a lot of people these days with technology, they want to launch a company from their bedroom. You know, so it's important. You can get any profession network marketer can tell how good is the company, how solid they are, how professional they are by looking at the links and prints, what we call it. The promotional material, the print materials, the brochures and booklets, as well as the videos and links that they have. Very important.
I think that comes back down to one of the previous points being simple products to have in a company. You want to have simple products that can sell quickly as well, but also if you have all these great tools, it makes it simple for the distributors to get out there and actually effectively market their products, right?
Absolutely.
Powerful.
Silent salespeople, because a lot of people new, and it's easier to show where the visual business, easier to show your products, your compensation plan that they talk about. Now, number 8, essential as a company owner, it's important that if you're with a good company, then they have excellent warranties and guarantees. And we got 100% satisfaction guarantee. So this is another way you can determine a real legit company versus something that looks good as it's hyped, versus if there is no company guarantees and warranties on their products, it's a major red flag. I know there are companies out there, you don't even know where the head office is. You don't know who owns the company. And I cannot imagine why people join the company like that. So again, look at company warranties and guarantees. Very great indication of how solid the company is.
I like because from the distributor point of view, Ramin, having guarantees and warranties allows the distributors to be confident in really marketing the products, knowing that we can say things, if you don't like it, we have this guarantee warranty in place, right? So again, I love that. It's so important because again, the easier it is for us to get out there as distributors, the more success everyone has, right?
Absolutely. The point number 9 is also extremely important. You need business that's beyond borders. That's what MLM is supposed to be. We have distributors on islands of 50,000 people making full-time income for 8 years, 100,000 people, because it's a business beyond borders. So it makes the whole industry greatest equalizer. Doesn't matter where you are, where. You could build in America, you could build in Canada, you could build in Europe. So it's important to be with a company that has reach outside its borders. So if you happen to be in a country where it's very small, like some of the Caribbean countries are, you can still make a full-time income because you could build from the time you join in other countries that are much bigger than yours.
I think another key point to that is, while you're sleeping in your home country, you can still have business happening in other countries where it's daytime, right? That's a beautiful point. Now, Ramin, I think we have to mention this point, called point number 10, is that to me especially, it was so important to find a CEO that had experience being in the field. I've been in some companies where the CEOs probably have some MBA degree, whatever it is, and they're more focused on the corporation. And I find it as a distributor, in my previous companies, there's always a big gap, a bit of a struggle between the corporation and the distributors. So I found personally it's so important to find a CEO that understands what we go through and has been a distributor as well too.
Well, because corporate CEOs generally look at bottom line. They look at profits, where distributors are looking at investment. They want to make the company better, their products better. They're always looking for new things that makes their job easier. And sometimes they contradict. So I think it's important if management came from the field, they kind of understand there's a good balance and mix there. So I agree with you on that 100%.
Well, Ramin, I think we covered a lot of amazing topics today, and I truly believe that we were able to put at rest finally some of the confusion in the industry. And again, MLM is the last free bastion for the people that have a serious chance of a financial home run. And again, Ramin, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. Again, you being the Forensic Networker, it was great for us to handle these important topics today. And one last special thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Good to have you here, Brennan.
Thank you.
Stay forensic.